Digital Tutorials. Today we're going to look at fixing your AI images, and a lot of times we're going to use more AI to fix the problems with your AI image. We're in Photoshop here. We're going to be using a few tools. Number one is we're going to be using the patch tool. Jay will get you there quickly, and the reason I'm using the patch tool is not to patch, but just because I like the free drawing of the little pointer here, and I can easily just draw what I want even though I'm not using the patch tool. So I've drawn an area with enough room to give space for the generative tool to hopefully create us a butterfly wing. It does not always cooperate. Let's look at that. So we're going to go down to Edit, Generative Fill, and we're going to type left wing of butterfly. Now this may not work, it doesn't always. And if not, then we have some other options. And it did pretty good. I might look at my other options here, and you can see that this one did a really good job. I'm pretty happy with this. But if it didn't work very well, then what I might do is come up here and copy this side of the butterfly and flip it and kind of put it where it should be. Maybe not even all of it, just part of it, and then let the AI generative fill finish it in the rest, because I'm kind of giving it some hints on where I want it to go. But this image is pretty good, so I'm not going to change that. So let's go to our next image. And by the way, you can download these images in the description if you want to play along and practice with us. So here we have a photo of a deer. Let's get him up bigger. And he's adorable. We're going to talk about a couple of things with this. Number one, we have coffee addict here. I don't need it also here. So I could come in and I could select these areas, but there is another little trick, and I'm going to show you that. If you go to the wand tool, and I'm on the add to selection, not just the standard, and you click the white area, and you can see that went way far. And the reason I did that, I'm going to hit Command or Control D to undo that, and is I had contiguous selected. So we don't want contiguous selected in this. We just want to select here. We don't want it to go and look in the whole picture. And we're going to keep selecting, but we're going to run into an issue when we get to this area because this F and these two E's are going into that space. So I'm probably going to have to switch back over to my patch tool and draw the area that I want. I am on add selection, so as long as I stay out of these boxes, because you can see the arrow shows up, I'll be able to come over here and I'll be able to select the areas that I want. The reason I wanted to show you the wand selection for these is if you have a lot of little letters, it works really well as long as it's not bleeding into another area. But I would probably also go up to select, modify, expand, and then I would probably expand that selection by 2. And the reason I do that is because you can see now over here, it's giving me a nice little selection without losing the gray for it to use to create the generation. So let's go to Edit, Generative Fill, and I'm not going to type anything here. I'm just hoping it's going to remove it and recognize I want the gray banner. So we'll see what it does. And it is okay. I had selected a little bit of that glasses. It should be okay, but if it's not, then I would go back and change that selection. The first one, I don't really like these edges, but this second one turned out pretty good. I don't love how muddy that area is, so I would probably then use a different tool to work on that. And I'm going to pop over here to my top layer. If you don't see your layers, it's under Window, Layers. And I'm probably going to copy all of this. So Command or Control A, and then I'm going to go to Edit, Copy Merged, because I don't want to just copy the current layer. I want to copy everything that it sees. And then if you do Command or Control V, it will paste it right on top. And you can see here now I have a solid layer. So we are going to actually use the patch tool this time. So we're going to select an area. We don't want to go too big because I'm having to use this area over here, and if we try to select the whole area, then there's not enough room over here. So you see if I drag, I'm now getting some solid areas, and I don't want add selection here. I want to switch over to my standard. And so if I come over here and I just keep dragging, it's going to start creating a more solid area. The other option you have is just to use your brush tool. So let's go to brush, which is B, but it is over in here. If we look at it, I'll show you, it's right here. It's the little brush, but B for short. Then I could select a color. Like I would probably pick from over here because I like this area. And we would select it and we would brush. And we would just be able to get that out of there. That is a harsh brush. If you would like to soften the edges, you can come up here and you can work on this. Will soften your edges so that you can soften it, but you don't want to go too much. But what if I want to control the area that it's brushing and do a little bit of an easier job? Well, one of those ways is to use your wand tool. So if you come back up here to wand, and you can see my tolerance is 100. That's probably too high. I'm going to take it down to 40. The higher that number, the more color variation from your choice it will pick. The lower that number, the less. So let's see if 40 works pretty well. And I can see 40 did a really good job here. And then I'm going to also add that because that area was a little darker. Now if I go back to my brush tool, which is B, I can enlarge my brush over here, and I am enlarging my brush by hitting the open bracket key, but you can also enlarge your brush up here in the brush panel. So now I can just brush this whole area, and let's get rid of those selection ant dots so you can see. And now I have it changed, and that is a quick way to do it where I'm not losing the edges and I'm not spending a lot of time. So this image is done. There is one little bonus I want to show you. If you go to wrap your edges and you want this area to wrap all the way around, then I'm going to recommend that you cut the edge area like this. And obviously we don't want to cut his ears, so we'll take that out. And you cut it, and by cutting it, and you did not see that I cut it, Command X, but let me get rid of these other layers, and you'll be able to see that that area has been cut. Now when I go to create my seamless wrap, it will take that pattern all the way around. If you don't like these dots up here, you can do the same thing I just showed you and use the generative fill and have it come up with another option, or you could use your brush tool. There's several ways that you could fix that. So the way this side is over here, it's going to do your seamless wrap with white around the back. The way this side is over here on the right, it should create that gray stripe, especially if we do it on both sides. Let's go to another image. Let's close this one. So we have a chicken here, and I'm going to go back to the original. He only has one leg. This image was, let's zoom in so you can see it. This image was kind of fun. I loved it. I love the leg that's there. I will tell you I tried several times and I had a very difficult time getting AI to create a leg with that coloring and that style. So you have a couple of choices. You could take the time and copy his leg and move it where you think it should be, or you can work with AI, and I did the same thing as before, and you can take, sorry about that, you can take your brush tool and you can select your color by clicking here and coming in here and selecting a color that you like. Then on your brush tool, we want to kind of be a little bit softer, but not super soft. And then we want to change our opacity to 30%. You can hit 3 and it will go straight to 30%. So if I hit 3, well, it's not going to do that for me now, but if I hit 3, you can see it went to 30%. And then we're going to change the color mode, the mode down to color. And by doing that, let's make our brush smaller. I'm using the close bracket. You can also do it in the panel, and it's not small enough. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to start coloring this leg to kind of get the color I want. And I know that you're not seeing it so much, so let me go up to 100% so you can see what happens. So see, when I change the color, I'm kind of getting that color back. The benefit here is when you're on a white background, it is not going to color the white, so you don't have to worry about staying in the lines. But if I were to color in the leaf, it's definitely going to color it. But you can just hit Control Z or Edit Undo to undo your mistakes. But you can see now that this leg is getting to be the color that I wanted. It's not the same texture, but I'm pretty good with that. So let's go to the next one. We have a cute cow here. Let's go back to the original image. So this is the original image, and I had been making a cow with heart glasses, but for some reason this cow put heart glasses on the top, but not on the bottom, and I really don't like that. If I were to use the generative fill like I did on the butterfly and just select the area, no matter how many times I tried, it just keeps the V. And so it wants to match the current shape, or it thinks you want to go down. What I did find was easier in this situation is to cut the problem area out, and then I selected the whole area. I'll show you. Well, I selected the two areas that I wanted to fix, and I used generative fill, and it did a beautiful job. So sometimes you will have to delete the problem areas before it will work on it. Let's go to another one. This is a cowgirl, and she's really cute. But this was the image that it originally came up with. If you notice, at first it looks okay, and then you realize one foot's walking towards me and one foot's walking away from me. Just like the previous image, I ran into problems when I tried to do generative fill by just like selecting the area. It was giving me like a heeled cowboy boot, but no matter what I typed, it would just walk away from me, and I really wanted it to walk towards me. So I used the same trick here as the little cow glasses, and I deleted this whole area. I went all the way up to the leg because I felt like her leg was kind of walking towards me, and I wanted it, or walking in a weird way. So I wanted it to work on the way it was walking towards me. And by doing that, I actually got a really good image. If I come over here, you can see this is what it was doing before I was deleting. It was just giving me crazy stuff, no matter what I did. But this one, I think, is pretty good. So by deleting, you allow the AI to use its imagination a little bit more. So this image, I didn't want you to see that before we started. Let's look at it. It was, I'm sure your AI has done this to you, where it shows you the picture already framed on a canvas or on a t-shirt. I want to show you an easy way that you can still use these images sometimes. Depends on how much shadowing that is added and highlighting on the object that it puts the print on. But in this case, there is none, and it is not warped. So I was able to come in and delete all the areas that were not the image. And then I was able to use my generative fill by selecting the blank area, and it filled it in with actual background. And that turned out really great. So it was a very quick fix, but by deleting those areas, you can see that it was able to fill it in. So let's look at this fish here. The fish is the same way. If I did not like this border, I felt like this border was really messy, I would not be able to just select these areas and delete them, and have AI delete them. I would have to first go in and delete and then generative fill. But I think that's the same situation. I'll show you the finished product. So I started over here. Well, that's actually not where I started. I started, let's see, let's go back down here, is by deleting those areas. And so here I deleted those areas, and then I started to add them back in. You can see that was the generative fill attempt before I deleted the frames. But once I deleted the frames, it did a really good job filling it in. and then I was able to do this. So obviously the text is wrong, so I would keep going with the tools that we've discussed, and I would probably type my own text. Photoshop is not very good at typing text. So let's close this one and we'll go to this mermaid. So this mermaid was something that we did in Bailey's group, but it gave me a head, and I really did not want a head. If I went in and used the AI generative fill, again, it's going to not like it. It's not going to give me what I want. So first I deleted the face area, and then I just typed hibiscus, and it gave me several really cute options. So we'll close that one, and there was a lot of deleting, but sometimes you don't have to delete. On this one, I did puppies, and I think they're so cute. But down here, I don't know what this is because it doesn't quite seem to match up to any of those puppies. Maybe it's the back of another puppy. But I just kind of selected the area, and let me show you the area that I selected. You'll see I kind of went into the puppies around him, and I did that on purpose because I wanted it to know that I wanted to get rid of this white area. And you can see down here where I didn't select it, I didn't give AI the ability to completely delete that. So it's going to be forced to use the AI description that I give it to meld with what I did not select. And let's see how it did. So you can see it kind of made it part of his neck, and it made it part of his neck up in here. And that actually worked really well. I'm good with that. All I did was type puppy faces. So this image is done, and we're going to go to this woman here. And we used this woman on one of our previous tutorials, and one of the things that I noticed during the tutorial was that this area and this area, while not necessarily wrong, as a portrait artist, these areas were distracting for me. So if I was editing this for portrait work or even for a print on a wall art or a tumbler or anything, I would probably go back in and just delete these because they're distracting. And so you can see here that I deleted those areas. But let's say that I felt like her ears were a little too much. I can even come in and I hit the J tool just so I have my little drawing tool, and I can select the ear, and I can go into Edit, Generative Fill. I'm not going to type anything because I really just want it to delete it. And it is going to delete. So you can see, and it's giving me multiple choices. I actually really like that one. That one looks a little too much like a horn for me. And then you can do the same thing over here, and you can do your generative fill. So the tricks of the trade for me when using generative fill is first I try without deleting an area. If that doesn't work, then I will delete the area, make sure nothing is showing below, so hide your layers that are below, and then I'll use the generative fill. Depending on what I'm trying to do, I may or may not type a description. So you can see here it's doing a pretty good job. What I think is great over here is I can actually select this whole horn area if I wanted to get rid of that, and I messed up, so I'm going to go to Add to my selection. I want to be out of the area, and I want to make sure I have that whole horn. So if I go to, I almost use my shortcut key, so I go to Edit, Generative Fill. I'm not going to type anything because I'm really just wanting it to use the areas around it to kind of assume that it wasn't there. And you can see that it's done a pretty good job, and it's going to give me several choices. And you can choose which one you like. If you don't like those, you can just hit Generate again, or you could add some description up here and hit Generate and have it do it. Sometimes I've had to run that generation 3, 4, 5 times, but very seldom do I have to do that. I hope that you enjoyed this video with Dana Digital Tutorials, and if you have specific questions about issues with images that you haven't been able to fix, type them below and let me know. And if you liked this video, please subscribe. Have a great day.